Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to D-Backs Dispatch, a part of AZ Snake Pit. It's your trio here again, Brandon, Gabe, and Brett, going over I can't believe I have to say this, a squeaky, barely beaten Oakland A's series win. Yeah, that was just, that was not how I wanted that series to go. But if it's your first time on the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future content. Make sure to check us out on all audio podcasts. Make sure to give us a follow there so you can listen on the go. And make sure to check us out on Twitter at DBacks Dispatch. We may be doing another giveaway soon, so you don't want to miss that. So yeah, we had a 3-game series against the Oakland A's. We lost the opener, which the final score, I don't even know if that does it justice about how bad that game was. Like it was pretty close for most of it. And then we found out that Thompson is human, ladies and gentlemen. He does have bad outings. I know, shocker to say. And then Torrey does his occasional, let's bring in a bullpen arm who is a 4A pitcher and just get absolutely decked. Like that game was just ugly to watch. If you didn't check it out, what was this? I think the score was 5-4 going into the ninth. Brandon Hughes comes in, gives up back-to-back home runs, and then a third one later in the inning. And Gabe was talking about it in our little group chat as to why Torrey made the move. And he basically said, same thing that he always does, is I like the matchup. I just felt like it was the right move. But if it was the right move, why'd you send him down to Reno the next day? Like, were you just trying to get him a outing before you let him go? So that was kind of a bummer. Slade pitched pretty well, actually. 88 pitches, 19 whiffs, 7 Ks. And this next stat hurts so much. This was the A's first road win since June 1st. Thanks, Torrey. That's all thanks to you. And then Gurriel's hot June continues. He had his 7th multi-hit game in his last 9. So very impressive. Gabe, how do you feel about that 9th inning?
Kind of just said my thoughts on Twitter a little bit and even in the group chat that I felt like Torrey punted his game away. He saw Mason Miller warming up and he was like, well, we're not going to do anything against Mason Miller. And I asked my brother about it. He's like, oh, well, yeah, well, he's not trusting his guys. But he said it like, I understand what Torrey's trying to say. But Torrey's a major league manager. He should never think or say something like that where he looks at a score and thinks, well, we're down by 2 runs. I could bring in my all-star closer who can get us, close enough to still be in this game coming to the 9th inning, because I think they had Perdomo, Carroll, and Marte, I believe, in that 9th inning. 2 runs is a lot different from 4 runs that they went down by. Like, that's a huge, huge difference. And Torrey, I guess, wanted to live to see another day or whatever. And it cost them. I know they won the 2 games and they took the series, but this is disappointment. They should have swept the A's. And I'm not saying the A's are an easy team to sweep by any means. Like, they have a sluggers on there. But they should have won. They should have been able to sweep the A's. They should have been at 500, but instead there's still 2 games under 500 coming up against the Dodgers. So it doesn't matter how you spin it. It's still a huge disappointment. They should have taken this game and they didn't. And I had some other thoughts about Torrey, but I wanted to bring up real quick, with the way Torrey has been punting all season, if he was in charge of the team in 2001, in Game 7 of the World Series, instead of bringing Randy Johnson in the 9th again, like to pitch to the Yankees, he probably would have put in wherever that Mark, whatever his name is, in the bullpen, that 5 ERA guy. He would have put him in because he was like, oh, well, the D-backs aren't going to do anything against Mariano Rivera. And then his excuse would have been like, well, I like Mark in that spot, which is the same thing he's been saying all year when he gets blown up.
I think
I was muted. Yeah. I was muted. It's a very cop-out answer to me. Like when you give the same reason as to why things aren't working, just explain you don't know what to do in certain game scenarios. You're just not prepared. To me, that's what it is he doesn't know what to do when he's in like that little middle ground of like, we're losing, it's the ninth inning, I don't want to waste my closer in a non-save situation, because some of these guys in a non-save situation doesn't exactly, like, some guys it's the mindset. If it's not an actual save situation, they're not good. Az Bubba brings up a solid point. They do no Arizona media for all of the major sport teams do not hold these teams accountable when they make decisions that you're like, this doesn't make any sense. So, Gabe,
Yeah,
were you
I want
talking
to.
about Matt Manti? Is that who you were trying to reference?
No, I don't think it was him.
Because I'm
He was
looking at
on.
the roster.
Was it? Yeah, say it. Like I do. I don't even have the roster.
Might be him. It's either Matt or Mark or whatever. It's all I know is one of the
Mark
5 ERA
Mulder?
guys.
Mark
Yeah,
Mulder?
yeah.
Was
Might
Mark?
have been
No,
him.
no. I don't think Mark Mulder was a D-back. That's just because that's the name I'm pulling as a baseball fan. There's no way it's Mark Mulder.
So Mark Mueller was on the 2001 roster.
What the fuck?
That's in the World Series roster.
Yes.
He had like 2 appearances. He had like a 5 ERA.
No way.
That's what I'm saying.
No
That
way.
him.
That's the most random pull I've ever had. No way. I'm
He
sorry.
was only
that
here for like
insane.
2 years. He was only here for like 2 years, I think.
Yeah, it was.
So we're older than you, Brett.
Yeah, say maybe again. My entire memory of that entire season is all on the DVD and the YouTube videos of that DVD.
Yeah.
So I did not get to experience like you two gentlemen.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just I don't. They truly don't put any sort of real like fire underneath any of these guys. They'll just ask a question like that, like why put him in and why put Hughes instead of Seawald? And if Torrey says, "Well, I liked him in that situation," well, he said specifically he was looking good. I'm like, when has a guy with a 10 ERA looked good in that situation? Never. You know who did look good in that situation? A guy with like a 0.5 ERA. Like it's crazy. Like push back a little bit.
Yeah. So, Brett, Mr. Glass, completely empty. So our freaking group chat with you on Friday, I'm like, oh my Lord, this man is so depressed. I don't blame him. Like, I really do. Like, Torrey and this team, sometimes you're like, I get why you act the way that you do. Obviously, you don't feel that way now because we won the series, but like, just take us back to Friday night. How were you feeling just watching that ninth inning?
I mean, not even the ninth inning. Like this is where it's where like again, I feel like I'm going to be a little bit of back-to-back episodes of me being against you two gentlemen. Not even like a full-on like I disagree. Like I definitely disagree. Like I definitely agree with not going to Brandon Hughes in the ninth inning. That was a mistake. Like I don't know even why he's leaving on the roster at this point. But
he's not anymore.
I mean, yeah, not anymore. But a little bit like I think it's just one of those where this game isn't on Torrey. Like this game in particular was not on Torrey. Like Ryan Thompson it was just one of those. It was one of the few times throughout the season where tea time, his tea was very room temperature, and it was just not good. Like I'm not saying Torrey didn't make the right call in the ninth inning. Like you can still definitely bring in a better pitcher to try to keep the game closer than it ended up being. Because again, you want to give your offense a fighting chance. I'm not disagreeing with either of you guys about that. Like I fully agree. There's got to be some other arm than him at that time that you go to. Like I don't understand why you go to him, but I still feel like Torrey Foley isn't to blame 100% just because, again, if Tea Time gave up one run and it was a tie game, then I would be full on the goals would happen, fire Torrey, hate train for him. But like, I don't know. It's this one is a little different. Again, I'm not excusing it at all. The fact that we lost to one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball, I think bottom 3 other than the White Sox and Rockies, I'm not excusing it at all. But it's still I don't know. I don't want to fully put all of the blame just on Torrey when I feel like, again, the offense had multiple opportunities. I mean, the offense alone was 3 for 9 with runners in scoring position, 6 left on base. There's plenty of times it's the same thing we've seen. It's the early backs, and then they turn into the turtle backs. They just don't want to do anything. Like they scored 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th, which obviously gave them the tied the game, gave them the lead. So it was good to see. But I'm like, again, I don't want to fully put all this on just Torrey when the offense, again, the offense has got to put up more runs against this dog shit A's team, man. Like that's kind of where I'm kind of leaning to.
Sears, their starter, had like a 5.2 ERA, and the fact is they only got 5 hits off of him in 6 innings. Like that can't happen. Like this team needs to decide, what are we? Is it just going to be another hangover after going to the playoffs?
I don't disagree with Brett when he's saying that this. I'm not blaming Torrey fully on this. Like, no, I think Thompson should have done his job. Thompson, the one who truly failed is Thompson. He's the one who put this game. He put this team, out of reach. He brought him down by 2 runs, I believe. He allowed 3 runs in the 8th. Like, Thompson did not do his job at all. My issue is just with Torrey punting on this game the way he has a whole lot of other games. They're down 64. Sure, Mason Miller was warming up, but Mason Miller isn't perfect. He hasn't been perfect.
I mean, he was in the bottom of the 9th.
He still has a 1.96 ERA after that game. He had a little bit over 2. He's not perfect. He's never going to be perfect. Same way as Thompson is never going to be perfect. These are relievers. They're going to have 1 or 2 really bad blow-up games. And with the way the D-backs are going, I know they have their issues, but they're, they had Carroll, Perdomo, I think Barnhart, and then Cattell. And you're talking about a completely different game if they're down by 2 runs. And we brought it up over and over and over again. It seems like there's one game every single series that Torrey just punts on it. They go down by 1 run, and then he brings in some reliever who shouldn't even be up in the big leagues, or like this game, giving Gino 6 at-bats for whatever reason. And same with all the other games, giving him over and over and over again, giving him at-bats. And he ended this night with a 193 batting average on the season. We are 81 games in. I believe this was the 81st game.
By the way, Gino hasn't been over the 200 mark since like June 18th. So almost 2 weeks. To be honest, I thought it was a lot longer than that. But
yeah, so that's, like I said, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, sure, you can't fully blame Torrey, but he's still putting these guys out every single day. He's putting these lineups out when you're like, why them? Why Gino? Why Brandon Hughes? Like, you have better options. You could have put Kevin Newman in. You could have put, I know Grichuk and Blaze were in there. Blaze wouldn't 0 for 4, but you still have Newman. You still had Grichuk. Like, there's certain guys you could put in a DH or as a third base, and he put in Gino, and Gino obviously had another stinker like he always does.
Yeah, I don't know how much longer that I can take this Gino thing. Like, everyone talks about, like, they even said it on the broadcast. He plays great defense. And I thought he did too until I looked more closely. He's really not playing that, like, stellar defense that he should be getting at bats over Blaze and Newman at third.
He's basically league average. Like, I remember one of the, like, I don't have the actual stats in front of me, but one of the writers at the Snake Pit when we did our round table, I believe the last one. So if you guys are on the website, go look at that. But I believe it was one of the things they brought up where, like, he's at 1 defensive or like 1 outs above average, -2 like DRS. I don't know if the -2 DRS is fully, accurate. So don't quote me, obviously. But it's still one of those where I'm like, that's the one thing that he's had brought up by everybody, whether it's in, certain Discords or on Twitter, whatever it is. It's he's a good defender. No, he's not. Yep. Gino Suarez is not like, don't get me wrong. Does he make the normal plays? Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Where, like, the Kevin Newman play we saw earlier this week against the Twins, even Blaze Alexander, one of the plays he had to Cattell Marte, or just an easy throw that he kind of butchered a little bit. I believe he still got the out, but either way, a normal third baseman does not make it that close. I don't know. Like he's not. That's where like I beg that like any fan. He's not his defense. He's okay at defense. Just because he makes the regular play does not justify him still getting at bats when there's guys like Davison De Los Santos down in AAA, who we'll touch on later. 8 RBIs in tonight's game alone. Why the fuck? He has 1,000 OPS. Just saying. Andres Chaparro. Like there's other guys. Like again, I think that if defense is the one reason why he's staying on this roster, that's not enough of a reason.
Nope. He's not doing anything that, for me, screams that he needs to be there over Blaze and Kevin Newman. More
But also,
Kevin
like-
Newman. Like, I would rather them do a platoon at third where lefty on the mound, Blaze. Righty on the mound, Kevin Newman.
Yeah, and also it's like, how many plays have we seen this year where Walker bails him out? He makes a really bad throw to first. Walker bails him out. Those are defensive run saves. Those are outs above average that are getting credited to him and to a certain extent a Walker as well. But like that other game, which was it bases loaded or whatever it was,
The Giants in the
he,
ninth inning.
and it was literally up to Walker to make that play. That would have been an error on Gino that could have changed the whole game. Walker literally saved it, and it's happened damn near once a week where the throw will be way offline and it will be Walker who saves him with the scoop, with either jumping up in the air, and it's just one of those things where it's like Gino, as of right now, everyone's a lot of people defend him saying he's a great defender. He is literally average, if anything, slightly below average. And if we have a slightly below average defender in Blaze Alexander, I'll take his 268 batting average. I'll take Kevin Newman's 278 average. I'll take Perdomo's, whatever the hell he's 260, whatever the hell he is. I'll take 3 or 4 guys over Gino right now. And Davison, call him up
I'll
already.
still take
Now-
Chaparro.
Walker doesn't just bail out Gino. He bailed out Domo on that first play today too. Like Walker bails out everyone. So but I'm like this close. Like if I see another Gino like 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, I'm like that. Like that's where I'm at. One more coming up with runners in scoring position and strike it. Like I don't mind if he grounds out or flies out. Like that doesn't bother me as much. Like the K's are just, it's too much. He's not hitting enough homers for me to justify. Like he should get maybe 1 or 2 starts a week. That's it. Like maybe 1 game per series. I'm fine with that. But he does not. No, he should not be playing 4 out of 6 games, 5 out of 6 games.
If we were the Dodgers and we, had that kind of, again, Gino, this I think the most we spent on a third baseman probably ever. That's one of the downsides is like the price tag to it. It's like, dude, if he wasn't making the amount of money he's making, he would have been probably gone after like before June, if I'm being completely honest. And again, I don't mean this in any slight towards Gino. I want Eugenio Suarez to be good. I know, the reason why, even you can look back at it in our, MVP party videos. All of us, a lot of the Diamondbacks fans were excited about him coming here.
Yeah.
He had a lot of really hype and potential to him. But that's where I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, that's that hype and potential and that, past performance does not outweigh what we're getting here with the Diamondbacks. And we talked about the last show. I'd rather have him go to a different team and play better there if that's what it takes. Genuinely, I'm not saying this is not not in a slight, not in a mean way, but I feel like it just might be better for both parties involved to just, kind of move on. Gino Suarez would probably hit 300 with the A's with no pressure, with
No, he's not.
you know,
He's not.
Okay, not
He
300.
never got even close to that.
He'd hit
in his
35
heyday
home
with
runs.
the
He would hit
Reds.
35 home runs with the A's if he was there right now. He would be doing what we'd expect, but I feel like maybe with him going into the season, us, not gonna lie, having a lot of expectations for him in that position. Like, I feel like we can all agree. We were expecting him to be, doing what he did with probably the Reds in his heyday, his 35 home runs, and just not doing it to where I'd rather just cut ties, go do what you're doing. Again, if he was with the A's and he didn't have that pressure and all that, he'd probably have 25 home runs at the All-Star break, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah. They're going to have to straight up release him. There's no way anyone's giving us anything in a trade. So they'll just have to just cut their losses and move on. But let's talk about something that's more positive. We got Zach Gallen back for game number 2. And I'm glad he was out for a month because he looked simply amazing in this start. We brought it. He was touching 97 in the first inning, ladies and gentlemen. Like that, Brad. He finished his outing setting down 14 in a row. Congratulations, Zach Gallen, with 750 career strikeouts as an Arizona Diamondback. He ends up going 6 innings, 7 Ks, 1 hit, 1 walk. He had 18 fastballs over 95 miles an hour, 13 whiffs. Oh my Lord. I was like, maybe he was gassed from last season. Like he pitched close to, if you include the postseason, close to like 250, 260 innings. So maybe he was just gassed. Maybe he needed just that month off here because he was pretty much out the entire month of June. He was absolutely dealing. I absolutely loved it. All right. So now that Gallen is back and seems to be in his Cy Young form, do we think that this might be some sort of catalyst for us to get things turned around? Or do we need more pieces back like Alec, Moreno, or Erod, Gabe?
I think we mostly do need Moreno and Alec back just to know who this team is offensively. Because Herrera, I mean, he's gotten a couple knocks. Barton has gotten a couple knocks, but they are not Gabby. They can't provide what he can provide offensively and defensively, especially because they're having a little bit more stolen bases while they've been gone. They're now, I guess, 3-5 in games without Gabby. We could be talking about 4-4 or 5-3 or whatever it might be. But it seems, some of the reporting seems that he might be back very soon. Soon meaning probably for this Dodger series. So I'm happy to see all these guys hopefully coming back soon. I know Alex is supposed to be playing in the some with Reno on Monday. Tomorrow we'll see where he is, if he's able to go for the Dodger series as well. But I still want to see this team fully healthy. I know we're just a tiny bit over halfway through the season. If we get these guys back and we're able to make a slight little run, really make some noise against the Dodgers and the Padres coming up, I have more hope in this team. My issue is just going to be that we only have 2 consistent good starting pitchers because we don't know what we're going to get from Montgomery. We don't know what we're going to get from Ryan or Ciccone or any of these other guys. So we're struggling right now with the rotation of 2 guys and an offense, that's not full right now. But we'll see where we go. I have a little bit more faith, and I'm a little bit happier now that we have some of these guys back. But we'll see. We'll see what they do.
Yeah, Brett, your thoughts on Zach Gallen, the milkman, coming back?
So really, I know we moved on from it already, but really quick before I talk about Zach Gallen and his whiffs, Slade did have 19 whiffs in the first game, which was insane. I really want to touch on that really quick. But just having Zach Gallen back is kind of like when Perdomo came back. You feel comfortable. Like, we've seen, Gabe touch on it with this starting rotations, put it to be nice, they're dog shit. They were dog shit. They're 27th ERA in baseball this entire season. A lot of that is not due to, Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly. I mean, Montgomery is a big part of it, but again, I don't want to fully put that on the starting rotation when most of those innings were eaten up by, Saccone and Ryan Nelson and Tommy Henry, guys that you're not even expecting to getting. It's basically having an opener. So the ERA alone this year has not been good, and so having Zach Gallen back, it felt so good, and it sucks too, especially like this game 2 especially should not have been as close as it was. This team was 3 for 14 with runners in scoring position. Again, a big glaring issue from this entire season.
Yep. From
opening day to now is with runners in scoring position, they do not perform well. And again, thank God that Zach Gallen was able to twirl 6 innings, 1 hit. And the bullpen was able to with Ginkel and Seawald. Ginkel, again, clutch 2 innings. ERA is now down to 3. So he has had a really good resurgence from the beginning of the year. And it's just having Gallen back, like, again, I know it's a lesser team. So it's not like he just put up like 7 innings shutout against the Dodgers. But what we've been getting lately compared to what Gallen gave us, oh my God, it's that comfortability, that like feeling of like you're not stressed watching the game. Like, your team gives you like a run or two. You're not going to the next inning like, oh my God, like begging for there to be a shutdown inning because like there's a good chance there's going to be a 4 or 5 spot put up. Zach Gallen, even if he does, again, every pitcher does get touched up. Even Zach Gallen in the past has had his troubles to where he can't always have a shutdown inning. But I feel more comfortable with Zach Gallen and the possibility of him having a shutdown inning than literally any other like starting pitcher on this rotation. And the fact that he was touching 97 coming back was that's insane in itself. Like, not even just like he touched it 1 or twice consistently. And I'm sorry, there's no reason, like maybe it's the, overreactionary in me. Zach Gallen needs to be extended. I don't give a fuck who his agent is. What we've seen this year alone with the lack of consistency with pitchers, even Brandon Pfaadt, the one pitcher that we've actually been able to draft, bring to the major leagues as a consistent like pitcher. And again, he's still really good. We saw it tonight in game 3, but there's still, I'm sorry, Zach Gallen, not even a drafted, like we traded for him and developed him. We need to keep him. I'm sorry, there's no way you're going to replace what this man gives you. We all saw it when he came back. Like I said, the comfortability, the assurance, the knowing what you're going to get from him every 5th day. I'm sorry, that's genuinely ace material. You don't get that often. We don't get that often. We really haven't seen it since Brandon Webb. And if I want to be fully honest, maybe 2017 Patrick Corbin, like we have not seen it consistently for multiple years. Zach Gallen has given us it. Like we need to keep him, man.
Yes. We need, like, every team needs that ace. You need that stopper where, okay, you've lost 3-4 in a row, but you have your ace going out there and it's going to stop. And that's how you avoid having bad months. Luckily, this month we did okay. We were 16-11 in the month of June. I think if we want to make any sort of progress, we got to at least do that every month, maybe a little bit better. Maybe go like 18, like win 2/3 of our games. Because, yes, right now we are in the wild card hunt. But if the playoffs started today, we would be out. And if we somehow made it in, whoever we play, we are not playing good baseball right now. The fact that we struggled against the Oakland A's, really, in all 3 games. Like Like, we did not blow them away. And we talked about that in our preview. We wanted to see them dominate the A's. They didn't do that. Yes, they won the series, but it wasn't in convincing fashion for me. Another thing I want to bring up, do you guys remember when we thought Kevin Ginkel might be out for a while when he took that line drive like right off his knee against the Mets? He's given up 1 earned run since then. So is that the reason he's pitching well? I don't know, but I'm glad that we're getting September, October 2023's Ginkel back, because the way if he pitches if we get that Ginkel back plus what Thompson's done for most of the year, not including Friday, and I don't know if you guys have looked at Seawold's numbers. He has an under 1 whip. His ERA is like 0.5. He's perfect in save opportunities. That backhand is deadly, but if we're not leading, we can't we just can't use them, and that's the one thing that has me worried. But one final thing that I want to bring up here with Gallon, something that Gabe kind of brought up in our group chat is something that he noticed late in his start. He may have been tipping his pitches there in the 6th. We don't really have any photos right now to go over it, but Gabe, can you just kind of go over like what you found and what you noticed there in the 6th?
So I noticed a little bit in the first inning. I would have to do a complete breakdown of every pitch that he threw, which was 77 pitches or whatever that he had. Like it might take me a while for me to get that fully done. But what I noticed is that there's a pretty big discrepancy in his fastballs and his curveballs specifically, and especially in the 6th. There's a little bit in the first, just the way his glove was positioned, but specifically where his foot or leg was. We know Gallon stands very straight up in the mound, but he brings his leg all the way up, almost up to his chest when he throws a pitch. And what I noticed is that his foot was a lot closer to his body when he would throw the fastball, and when he would throw a curveball, it would just be a little bit more extended, or vice versa, because I don't have the pictures. But so that was the main thing I noticed. I also noticed that he was doing a little bit of a glove tap every time he would throw a fastball. So for everybody watching live, what I mean by glove tap is, where's the camera? Okay, here, fastball, he would go like this and then throw the ball. Everything else, he would just have it here, curveball, throw it. Everything else was fastball, do this first, and then throw the ball. So he would do that over and over again with that fastball. And also, the issue is I can't fully break down just because he allowed 1 runner, and I don't even think they got to second base. So I couldn't see what he was doing when there was a runner on. But you can clearly see him holding the ball a lot closer to himself when it was a fastball. And when it was an off-speed pitch, the glove was a lot more open. So if there's a runner on second, he really needs to watch that, because they can easily relay the sign back to the batter. And if the Oakland A's were a slightly better team, I feel like they probably could have caught on, because I'm like, how did I catch on? Like, I was just watching Pitching Ninja, and I noticed that I saw the ball in his hand too much when he threw a fastball. So then I was just thinking, oh, did he glove tap? So I went back to look at the glove tap, and then that's when I noticed his leg coming up too high or too low during certain pitches, and it seemed to be happening every single time in the 6th. Whether it was a fastball or a curveball, he would kind of have the same little tell. So something to keep an eye on for the next start, especially the Dodgers are a lot better at noticing these things than the A's are. So if it gets blown up and they talk about pitch tipping, that might be what it is.
Yeah, so something to keep an eye for, because he's starting Thursday on July 4th against the Dodgers. And I'm wondering if it's one of those things where he didn't even realize it. But like Gallon is so meticulous about everything that he does in his bullpen sessions between starts, his warm-up before the game, like during the game. Like, I know that someone on the coaching staff would have pointed it out to him, or maybe even another player on the Diamondbacks would have pointed that out to him, and then he would have fixed it. Like, it's most of the time with tipping pitches, they don't even know that they're doing it. Like that's just how good some of these batters are, is that they can pick up on stuff like that. Like you said, it could be a grip with the wrist, the way they turn their glove, or something to do with their leg when they deliver the pitch. Something so simple that will give the batter just a little bit of a heads up as to what's coming. I mean, even if you know what pitch is coming, you still may not be able to hit it. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, I feel like at this point we need to give we just need to give Gabe credentials or whatever it is for how often he notices these little things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a self-appointed. I've said it before on multiple other episodes. I'm a slut for pitching, and even I was talking to Josh about it on the way to the game today when I picked him up and we were heading down there. I'm a slut for pitching, but those are still some of the few things that I'm not fully paying attention to where like that's not the only reason, but we like Gabe noticing those kind of little things. Oh man, I promise you, no other D-backs account has mentioned that even in the slightest. We were even talking about not even mentioning it because we don't want any other teams to even, again, I don't really think if there's many other teams listening to the D-backs Dispatch. If they are, then hey, we appreciate you, just like every one of us or every one of you guys listening. But we were even ourselves were like, do we really want that info to be public? Like, I don't know. Like, that's why. That is exactly why you guys subscribe to us and follow us and tune in, because things like that you don't get really anywhere else. Like the minute, very minimal things that could make or break a like pitcher start. Like Gabe said, if he's facing the Dodgers, that kind of thing, the Dodgers could very easily pick up like they did against Slade Ciccone when he was tipping pitches.
Yeah. I think other people would pick up on it, but they would have to watch it over and over. Gabe got it like that, like right away. Yeah. Oscar is Gabe's number one hater, and he's allowed to. He's his brother. That's the way that it works, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, 1 game 2 looks really good. Gallon was dominant. Moving on to today's game, we end up winning 5-1. Brennan Fott started, and he looked amazing. Like, he looked dominant, and he didn't get a win. Like, this is so beyond frustrating if I'm Brandon Fott. Like, he went 6 innings, 8 Ks, 5 hits, 2 walks, 13 whiffs. It's his 9th quality start of the season. Like, that boggles my mind that you can have a guy with 9 quality starts. So you're thinking, oh, that's probably what, 7, 8 wins? And how many wins does Brandon? He's 3-6. That's just not fair. Like, anyone's going to go and do box score or stat watching, and they're like, Brandon Fott's not having a good season. That's why wins are not, in my opinion, something you gauge on how good a pitcher is. Because wins are completely out of their control. Like, he could have gone perfect, and he still could have lost. And what sucks is they're like, oh, Fott, you're out of the game now. Let's score some runs. So now you're not the pitcher of record anymore. Like, I feel bad for him. And something that I noticed, and Gabe kind of confirmed with it as well, his 3rd start in a row where he throws 10 or fewer pitches in the first. And we've also noticed that his whiffs are not as high as they had been, and that's because of this. I think that's what a lot of teams have been seeing is don't let him get ahead, because he will throw that sweeper, and when that pitch is on, he is a dominant pitcher. So yeah, I just like, he's 3-6 with 9 quality starts, just blows my mind. Like, but I feel like Fott's the kind of guy that's not going to bring it up to any of the players or the coaches. He's just going to do his job start after start. But it can get frustrating when you throw a gem and you don't really get the credit for him. But now that Gallon is back, and we don't need Fott to be our true ace anymore. Gabe, what would you like to see from Fott here over the next few starts before the All-Star break?
I would like to see what we saw early on in the season, which is Gallen and Fott going toe to toe every single start. It was literally Gallen 7 innings, 2 runs. Then Fott would see that and be like 7 innings, 2 runs, plus like an extra couple strikeouts. More than that. Then Gallen would be like, take it personally, fine. I'm going 8 innings and then 10 strikeouts. So that's kind of what I want to see out of that. And I feel like that's a lot of pressure off of Gallen. Again, because of the way the offense has been, like it's been very, very frustrating for him. And I can understand that because it's really hard to be perfect because he starts to nibble and that's when he gets into trouble is when he starts to nibble a little bit because it's like it's 1-1. What is he going to do? Is throw a fastball straight down the middle to get ahead in the count? Well, we can't do that because players are now swinging at the first and second pitch because they know they have to get ahead of him. They know that they're going to get maybe one pitch from him, and then that's it. And I think that's why we've been seeing such low counts from him. Why so they've gotten so few whiffs is because teams, I feel like their adjustment to him have been try to swing as early as you can. Swing at the first and second pitches. If you can't get him, fine, try to work the count. But by the time that happens, he'll have him 1-1, 1-2, and then he strikes him out or grounds him out. Like Fott, when he's ahead in the count, he's completely dominant. He rarely ever goes, 2-0-2, then works a walk. That rarely ever happens. He's going to strike you out. He's going to get you out if he gets either 2 strikes. So I think the only way that they can attack him is by getting him right away. And I think maybe that's why he's been giving up a few bombs because he leaves anything near the zone. Doesn't move as much like today. It just hung a little bit too long in the zone. Even though it was a good placement for that sweeper, they're still able to get it just because it hung just a tiny, tiny bit, a little bit too long into the zone. But I want to see them be what they were early in the season. I want them to go toe to toe. I want them to be our ace 1 and ace 2. And maybe when Kelly comes back, ace 3. Like we're going to have hopefully 3 ace type pitchers in the next coming month.
We should have 5. Like we legit could have 5. Like when we're fully healthy, like we legit could have we could if all 5 are clicking at the same time, which is literally the complete opposite of our starting rotation right now. Before Gallen came back, bullpen was gas. So I bet all of them were like, "Oh, Gallen's back." So all these middle of the bullpen guys were like, "Oh, good. I don't have to come in and hopefully not blow this." But Brett, what do you want to see from Fott here, kind of going forward over the next 2 weeks or so?
I mean, I'll fully admit it. I feel a little bad. I'm not a superstitious man, but I'm a little stitious. Me and Josh, when we got there, we were, kind of like, not like sea hopping. We were sea hopping. We were definitely like going around trying to get some good photos. Josh got some great shots. And we went down to it was literally right after the D-backs got that 1 run from the, I think this 5th or 6th, whatever it was. Got the lead 1-0. And we're sitting in the seats and I was like, I can't believe that like Ryan Thompson and at the time, like I was mistaken, but I was like, I thought Geloff hit a home run. Like, I can't believe that Ryan Thompson let this man hit a home run. He's hitting worse than Gino Suarez. Like, dude is not doing good. And not even a pitch later, I see Geloff slap it the other way. That sweeper, as Gabe's mentioned before, slap it the other way for a home run. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I'm very glad I spoke even a single word about it. But with Foddy, like, I think today was just just what we saw from him today is all I want to see from him. Like, limited, again, the 1 home run from Geloff. Again,
only because Jake made a bad jump. That was
I don't want to say a bad jump. Like, again, it wasn't the greatest, but I still think it's one of those, like, Fott could have been a little better with his location.
It was out of the strike zone.
I mean, again, it wasn't like, maybe not with his location. It probably just one of those just genuine, like, we've seen it, in MLB The Show. Sometimes you just have a terrible swing and it results in a home run. We've seen it in baseball. A guy will get jammed in on a 1-2 sinker up and on the hands with 2 strikes. with a runner on second, and that bloops into the right field, and that leads to a run. Like sometimes baseball is a cruel bitch of a sport, and that inning with Fott definitely was one of them. Fott has had too many of them this year alone, but I think today was a really good step forward on what we want to see from him. Still had, I believe, a decent amount of whiffs in general.
13.
Yeah, still at 13. And again, dude, the ace pitcher Medina was really good. I want to make sure we at least bring that up. He was really good. Like, yes, the A's and their record and all that, but Medina genuinely kept this offense at bay, and it wasn't like the offense was just not doing anything. He was solid. He had more swing and miss than Fott. But I feel like what Fott did for us today is really all that we can ask. Like, he still did it on 82 pitches. He had a really good mixture. He had threw 10 plus of every single pitch, four-seam sinker, sweeper, change, curveball. He didn't really leave too, like, obviously, like the sweeper that you guys were mentioning. It wasn't like a major like location miss, but he still did a pretty decent job of limiting anything in the middle of the zone. Like, he didn't leave anything up in the zone. He had one fastball that was middle up, actually in the middle of the zone. Everything else was the middle half and below. So location wise, like that's a big thing, especially the sweeper. He had a few that missed really wide, but I feel like sometimes missing really wide with the sweeper can be a benefit because guys are like, expecting you to be wild with it. And the next thing you know, when you dot that 2-2 sweeper right on the edge, they're just kind of shitting their pants like, oh, okay, cool. I was not expecting that at all. So I think today was a really good step forward. And if he can replicate this alone in his just any start in the future, I'm more than happy with it. And I will fully say he is our true ace of the staff. Sarcasm /sarcasm.
Okay. But no, good start there by Fott. So this next 2 weeks is going to decide how the last 2 months of the season go, in my opinion. We have 13 games left until the All-Star break. They play basically them all straight starting on Tuesday. So we got 3 at LA, 3 at San Diego, and then 7 at home. 4 against the Braves, 3 against the Toronto Blue Jays. This is a very important stretch because I think depending on where we're at the All-Star break will determine are we buyers or sellers at the trade deadline. Would I like them to be buyers? Abso-freaking-lutely. Would I be surprised if we're sellers the way this season has gone? No. So, Gabe, what do you want to see them do in this 13-game stretch to feel like we can move forward and still make a push for the playoffs? You thinking 8-5, 7-6, 9-4? Like, what for you would be like, okay, so we're making good ground, we're moving forward, and we're not like running in place or taking a step back?
I think they need to win at least 3 of these 4 next series, specifically the Dodgers and the Padres series. I believe it was Shug, I think last time, asked us about if the division is completely out of the question for the D-backs. They're 10.5 games behind. If they're able to sweep LA, they are suddenly 7.5. And I know that's still a lot, but they would have 4 games against them left, and also against the Padres. If I don't think they're going to sweep either team, but if they're able to even sweep both of them, it's a lot of ifs. If they're able to sweep them, then you're talking about them making a lot of ground against these teams suddenly. And then, coming into the All-Star break, you could be talking about them being, 5 games from first and, a really good steady hold on second place, or even in the second place wild card spot against the Atlanta Braves. I believe I guess there would be like 6-7 games behind them too. If they go well against them, the Braves cut a little bit, either able to sweep them, same thing. Suddenly, they could be in a commanding lead in any of the wild card spots, and even closer to the actual division. Hopefully, like, I don't think we're going to do that, but if it's 13 games, let's try to get over 500 first, and then hopefully we can get everybody back, get certain guys back, key guys specifically, and we can get some news on some guys like Erod, Let, let Montgomery work his kinks out during the break. Like we have a lot of guys who can work out their kinks during this break. We have a lot of guys who can come back a little bit after. But if we go or 3-10 in this break, I think we're definitely sellers, and I would hate for that to happen. But if we're buyers, I would love for them to actually go and get Vlad Jr. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but he can play third. Not great at it, but he can play third. I would rather have a guy with an almost 300 average and an 850 plus OPS right now over what we have right now, even if we have to sacrifice a little bit of defense.
Yeah, I'm kind of saying that. I'm like, at this point, I'm like third base. If we, like you said, get someone that hits 300. To be honest, if you can get a OPS over 700 at third base, I'm fine with having a average third base defensively.
Davis
Brent,
and the same.
Yeah. We are gonna get into that later. But what do you want to see in this 13 game stretch to feel confident that we're moving forward?
I just want to see this team at least like get back to 500 and over. Like whether it's a game over 500, a game or two. I know it's sad that like after 82 games in the season, that's one of our milestones that we're even reaching for. But I feel like that alone is a big, considering how weak the NL is in its entirety. I feel like getting back to 500 is a big step. Whether that's them winning 2 or 3 against the Dodgers or just winning one, whether that's sweeping other teams in that 12-game stretch. I just want to see them get back to 500, maintain that, and then be over 500. Because if we can do that going into it, like Gabe said, I'd be more than okay with us being buyers. But, I mean, if we kind of still stall and stagger a little bit, I'm okay with going with what Spencer talked about in the draft episode of just kind of punting on this season to make sure that next season is okay. Because there are pieces that we can move. And again, I know that's not I don't want that to be the route that we go. I don't want to be the things that we're talking about. I want this to be a team that is buying at the deadline, fighting for the playoffs, pushing towards that. But if we don't see that over this stretch that we're, kind of, narrowing in on, I think there's still a little bit of a way to pivot to be kind of positive for the future while still acknowledging, what, it sucks. Like, I fully agree. Like, I wish we could actually make the playoffs in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 2001, 2002. And I want us to. I still have hope that we can. I still think that we can. But if over these next 12 games, if they don't prove to us that they are an actual contending team, I think it might kind of, be the time, the signal of the, waving the white flag and kind of trying to look at 2025.
Yeah, which kind of feels weird to say because we made the World Series last year, but happens a lot. And Rangers are struggling really bad right now, too. But for me, 8-5 in this stretch, I would feel so good because at that point we would be over 500. We would be just over 500. We'd probably still be like 2, maybe 1.5 games back of that final wild card spot, which is where you want to be with those last 2 months. Because if we can get healthy, and we're going to kind of talk about it here, we got some news about Eduardo Rodriguez the other day. He's going to have a MRI on July 6th. And depending on the results of that, he could begin to start throwing on the mound. So then we could probably be about a month away at that point. So August 1st. We did see him on the broadcast today, so he is real, ladies and gentlemen. I personally didn't think that he was an actual person. Because literally he pitched a couple games in spring training, got hurt, and we literally nothing the entire season so far. So I'm hoping that we can get 6 weeks out of him, because if we can, it's like making a trade deadline deal. Like, I feel like he is that good. And if we can have Gallen, Kelly, Montgomery, Erod, and Brandon Pfaadt as our starting rotation, we could go on a serious run. But it may not matter if offense continues to struggle. Like that's the thing that scares me the most.
Yeah, kind of want to bring that up. Well, first of all, yeah, like I don't find it, I find it coincidental that I call Eduardo Rodriguez an offshore tax shelter, and suddenly they bring him out in the broadcast. I don't know. I'm just saying, but I kind of want to bring that up with what you said about him getting like basically being a trade line acquisition. I hope that's not what Mike Hazen says. I hope he doesn't say, we stand pat and do nothing during the trade deadline. Then he comes out and says, we got Eduardo Rodriguez and Merrill Kelly back as trade deadlines. Like, no, like we need offensive help right now. That's the main weakness. Like right now, it's both offense and pitching. Pitching is going to get better. We know it's going to get better. Offense, we don't know. We don't know what we're going to get out of Gallen. Is it going to be better in the second half? We don't know. Is getting Alec back going to change much? We don't know. But we do know that there's boppers out there, just guys who can hit really, really well on other teams that we can trade either for, middle of the line pieces or even some of our higher pieces. And we have certain guys, like I know we're going to get to later with Davis and De Los Santos. 2 weeks of a very good Davis and De Los Santos is going to be worth a lot right now. And I don't care if he, falls apart after 2 weeks, which happens to a lot of rookies. Those 2 weeks are incredibly valuable, especially in this series coming up. We have 13 games. If we get a guy who's going to hit 400 in that time, call him up, man. Like he has over 1,000 OPS. He's walking a lot. He's blasting the ball. And I know it's Reno, but he has an incredible eye right now. Like I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, that one is. Yeah, I don't like. I just, for me, say that we are at 500 at the All-Star break. The two moves I want to see is address the third base situation and another or two major league quality bullpen arm. That's what we need. Because
specifically lefties. We need lefties. We can't rely on Matt to play.
Yeah, that Saul Frank suspension in hindsight is really fucking us.
One player that I wouldn't mind kicking the tires on, Matt Moore from the Angels. Like, I don't feel like he would cost a lot, which is good. Like, maybe we just send them Tommy Henry and they'll be okay with that. But Brett, what are your thoughts here on the whole Erod? Like, do you want them to try and have him pitch this year, or depending on where we are August 1st, like, is there any rush to do it?
I mean, if we're still, treading water and we have the chance, like, 100%, like you got to have him at least try. I'm still with Gabe. I don't want this to be, Hazen going, oh, Eduardo Rodriguez, joining us is like basically a trade. It is, and it isn't. Like, he still hasn't pitched this year. It's not like Merrill Kelly. We fully know his track record with the team, with like Zach Gallen. Some of these guys, like, we know we're getting. Like, we haven't seen him throw a single pitch. So like, we can't fully just rely on him coming back as like a, trade piece. But I mean, I'm still pretty confident in him, like just what we've seen with Gallen fully joining, like Montgomery on the few starts that he's actually been able to lock in. And I still feel the starting to Twins was more of just unfortunate luck. I don't think he was really shitting the bed compared to what the box score might show. Obviously 4 earned runs out of 8 runs total. But if we can get Erod back, along with making a few more moves at the deadline, if this team is still in it and all that, there's no reason why you don't try to have him actually join this team, unless he's genuinely like cannot throw a baseball, like physically is unable. Like, I'm sorry, like I'd still take Eduardo Rodriguez trying to get some innings in September, and maybe he's a bullpen arm if this team can fight for a playoff spot. I'd still take him in the bullpen over probably an arm like Tommy Henry.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. And the thing is, like, if he does come back, how do we know he isn't going to do exactly what Jordan Montgomery did, where it took him 2 months to really be the pitcher that we signed? Like, that could entirely be the case, and if he comes back in middle August, we don't have 2 months for him to get going. So that's why those can't be there. Oh, and I think we're all in agreement. Those can't be your moves, having them come back. It's nice in addition, but it can't be the only moves that you make. If you want to make that push, maybe they feel like they don't want to sacrifice some of their prospects for some of these short-term guys. Like that, I'm okay. Like, especially if you're like where we are right now, there's not a lot of these young guys that I would feel comfortable moving on from for a temporary, oh, you're in the wild card and you're done within 7
Yeah, I don't want to see us like try to like trade any, big names like Human Lin's, Melendez's, unless again, if we were in a position like we were many games over 500 and actually like borderline guaranteeing ourselves a playoff spot at the All-Star break, fully, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You got to trade, some of those younger arms and younger names, but I don't know with where they're going. If it means, especially with how weak the NL is and how tough the trade market might be because of it, I'd rather just keep some of the guys. Like we were already like kind of teased, not in a good way, with Davis and De Los Santos not being a part of this team. We were begging all spring training for him just to shit the bed with the Guardians so he could just come back to us. So he did not make the roster, and literally they had to give him back. I would hate for us to make a trade like that, like act like we were 10 games over 500 and trade for some third baseman or reliever or whatever it was, and give up a promising name in the future that we could, even like Gabe said, I'd rather have a 2-week span of Davis and De Los Santos or another like Adrian Del Castillo, which we'll probably get into with the Barnhart news that we'll touch on. I'd rather have the 2 weeks of them hitting 400 than trading them away and hoping that whatever bullpen pitcher that goes in twice a week actually has a lead to work with and actually has like an opportunity to prove he's worth what we gave up for them.
Yeah, I mean, let's just jump into it. Davison De Los Santos had himself a day here on Sunday. Goes 3 for 4 with 2 home runs and drives in 8. He's batting .319 with over 1,000 OPS. I find it interesting how the Reno Aces website lists him as a third baseman. He's played third base in just 7 games at Reno. He's mainly
no. It's just like how Luis Arraez is a second baseman. You know what? Respect him as a third baseman. Okay.
He's mainly played first and DH, but it would be very weird. Like they bring him up and they put him at third when he hasn't been doing that all season. I just don't think that really sets him up for success very well. I want them to bring him. He has been just destroying pitching down there. Like it is on. Like I swear, every day Reno Aces says, "Oh look, De Los Santos with another bomb home run." I'm like, I feel like I just saw this.
I mean, he had a grand slam and a 3-run home run tonight. Yeah, that's how he got those 8 RBS.
Like he is unreal. Yeah, he's played 7 games there. He's played 24 at first. 3 errors. It's actually not that bad. Like I'm fine with that because he's hitting 1,000 OPS. For me, that's like and Gabe brought it up. Bring him up for 2 weeks. If he balls out for that 2 weeks, you can get so much for him. If a team sees that he's hitting 400 in that span, maybe we can get another legit starting pitcher. Because right now, I feel like he's blocked at first base until we decide what we're doing with Walker. because Walker's going to be a free agent this season. And if depending on where we're at the trade deadline, we could, I hate to say this, but we could potentially trade Walker, which would really, that is a straight, yep, we're punting on 2024 and we're going strictly on 2025. If they do that, yeah, bring him up, play him at first base for 60 games and see what you got out of him. I don't feel like he'd be set up for success very well at third base if he hasn't really done it. If he hits this way, I'm fine with it because he's hitting way better than Gino. So, Gabe, floor is yours, and about anything about De Los Santos.
Yeah, he's been a great player for the D-backs this whole time. I mean, the only issue is, I guess, that he's young. He's only about 21 years old, so maybe that's why they don't want to call him up. But we almost lost him to the Rule 5 draft, so he's not up this year. He goes into the Rule 5 draft again next year, I believe. So then what? We risk losing him again to another team next year, another team that has an open spot for him, because we've seen he went to the Guardians, right? He went to the Guardians. The Guardians are very good this year. He would have been blocked there. And I believe the way the Rule 5 draft goes, it goes from the worst team. I believe it's like the worst teams. So you would have him open to certain teams, like whether it's the Athletics or a whole bunch of other teams, or even the Rockies. You're telling me the Rockies don't want a guy who hits almost 1,100 in Reno? That's probably what his numbers will be in Colorado. I guess an issue with him is, yeah. So I guess right now, give me 2 weeks. If the league adjusts to him and he finds it difficult to adjust back in 2 weeks after that, it's fine. Send him down. You have options. But what we need now is those first 2 weeks to get us back on track, to motivate this team, to energize them, because Gino isn't doing it. We've seen teams turn around when they get guys like this, like the Dodgers with Puig. I know everyone hates on Puig, but when he came up in 13 or whatever it was, the team
12.
was 12.
12.
The team was not doing good when they got him. They made almost like a 20-30 game turnaround as soon as he came up. And it was, I believe they won the division that year. That was one of their first run to winning the divisions. The Giants, I believe, won the World Series as a wild card.
We did choke the division that year. And I believe that was I think that was the same year when we got in a fight and they jumped in our pool.
Yeah, so
Puig was a catalyst, and that's what I think a lot of people.
And so it completely changed their season around. He came up in August, I believe, too. So he played in a limited time. He only played about 80 games or something or no, I think he might have qualified for the rookie. I don't remember. Point is, bringing up an electric rookie can change the team's chances. They went to the playoffs because of Puig. He completely changed them. He posted up almost like a 5 WAR or something ridiculous like that. It completely changed the team. The teams were incredibly scared to face them. So it's not like the Dodgers were a bad team. The Dodgers were a very good team. But suddenly having a guy like Puig at the top of the lineup, teams were scared to pitch to him. So they would go to Matt Kemp. They would go to Lonely or whatever. They would have to pitch. They would have to pitch to certain guys who were very good, including a Matt Kemp. So the D-backs were to bring up Davison, put him in the 3, 4, 5, whichever one of these holes. If he starts inspiring fear in these pitchers, they pitch around him. Well, guess what? You have 2 guys on for Christian Walker, 2 guys on for Lourdes. We're no longer having the hole at third base or in that spot that Gino was. We need him up. I don't know why they haven't. The only thing I can think of is just the fact that 1, he's young, and 2, that maybe he just strikes out too much. He still has almost a 400 on base percentage. He's showing he can find ways to get on base. So even if he's 50 points over his actual average, so even if you take away the Reno effect, whatever, he would still have a 300 on base in the major leagues. He would still be batting over 250. We need him desperately. We can't keep giving at bats to Gino.
No, we really, really can't. So yes, 29. 50-ish strikeouts and 286 at bat. That's not that bad. I'm pretty sure Gino's percentage is higher. And again, it's not the strikeouts with Gino that bothers me. It's the lack of power. Like, if Gino was at like 10 or 12 home runs, this wouldn't even be a discussion right now. We would be okay with that. Because you take those home runs, that's probably at least 3 game difference. We'd be over 500, and we'd all be okay with it. I give the kid a shot. Like, he's been doing it all season in Reno. Give him a shot. There's no reason other than the fact. But the thing is, if you do make that decision, who do you move? Do you send Blaze down so that he can start getting consistent at bats? Because I think that's why Blaze has these stretches where he doesn't look good, because he plays like once, twice a week. Like, guys that young need consistent at bats. So I'd be fine with making, because I can't think of anyone else, because they're going to have to make a decision probably potentially Tuesday with Alec, because Alec plays tomorrow for Reno, and then they're going to see how he feels on Tuesday. Flight from Reno to Los Angeles, not very far. They can make that decision in the morning. He's there by afternoon. So they got to just, like, that's the decision that they have to make. But Brett, floor is yours to talk De Los Santos and Adrian Castillo as well. I know you brought that up as well.
Oh man. So if I believe with Pecora's tweet of Barnhart being DFA'd, if that's true, I think it's not of a necessarily Barnhart not playing well. I think it's just, I'm sorry, Del Castillo has had a genuine, Del Castillo is doing what I would imagine De Los Santos would do in another month. Like 30 doubles halfway through the season, and Reno or AAA has I think 5 or 6 less games than we are now at this point, maybe even less. That's insane. I know we talked about it before about, you don't want to stunt his growth, but to me at this point, it's I'm sorry, he's literally what Tucker Barnhart is, and we saw it today in person. Tucker Barnhart's still not a great catcher. He's still getting ran on like he's a goddamn, PH star. The dude is just not that great to where
he had a line drive today, 101 off the bat. I'm like, well, that's good. It was a routine line drive to deep right. I'm at that point I was like, no, just because you make solid contact doesn't mean it's a good hit.
Exactly.
Ask
and that's
anyone
where
that
I'd
plays
rather
MLB
have
the show.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you can get a perfect that it's a line drive to the first baseman. Sometimes you can get a little, jammed shot that's a 2-run double to the left fielder. But I'd rather take Del Castillo than Barnhart from what we've been getting. To me, it's even I've said it in the past, I don't want to mess with his development, but I'm like, what development? Gabby's our catcher. Gabby's gonna be our guy. If Gabby's going to, we got to have a backup. If Del Castillo can fully just fit into a solid backup role, now's the time to do it. Now is the time to, we saw it last year when they finally let go of Bumgarner. You got to let, bring in somebody else. Maybe now is then they're like, hey, I'm sorry. We can't be letting, Jose Herrera is already lucky enough to even be still having a spot. This, to me, is them going, hey, Barnhart, we respect you. We're going to cut you, let you have a chance to go to some other team where I don't think Herrera would get picked up as fast.
He's batting 200, which I was wrong about. I didn't think he'd get a hit before Gabby came back. This is probably the only time he's going to be at 200 or over.
Yeah, so that's why I think what we've seen just from the backup catcher position is enough for them to make the call. I don't care. Bring him up, see what Del Castillo can do. Because the nice thing is Del Castillo still has options. Herrera still has options. Barnhart didn't have, I don't believe, had options that Herrera had, to where you could still send down Herrera when Gabby comes back and you're fine. Let's say Del Castillo doesn't do good in the few games he's up here. You can still send him down, keep Herrera as the backup over Gabby, move on from there. But with De Los Santos, dude, you cannot keep this man down for too long. He's hitting in almost the exact same amount of games between AA and AAA. He has 14 home runs in AA, 11 in AAA, 37 RBIs in both levels, 12 walks in AA, 8 in AAA. Still pretty much the same amount of strikeouts, so he's still going to be a big swing and miss dude. But over 1,000 OPS, I'm sorry, like, I know it's Reno. I know, some of the offensive stats can be skewed. I'm not saying that is not something to at least note. But it's got to be better than the less than 600 OPS we're getting from Eugenio Suarez.
Yeah, and then, I mean, we kind of already brought it up. Tucker Barnhart was DFA'd, and I think the reason they did it today is it takes 2 days for them to be able to make another roster move, which they basically said on the broadcast today. Gabby had his rehab. He caught 5 innings in the Arizona Complex League. I'm not saying the acronym. It's the Arizona Complex League. And he seemed to be fine, so it looks like Gabby's good to go to come back on Tuesday, which is a big sigh of relief because this team is just different with Gabby behind the plate. Like, if Corbin didn't have the year he had last year, Gabby would have been the best rookie on this team by far. But Corbin was unreal last year, and I hope we get that player back sometime this season. So, but definitely bummed to see Tucker Barnhart go. I thought he did a decent job. He's a career backup. And I think the reason they made that move instead of sending Jose Herrera down is I think they just realized that was it. Like, Tucker's, like, he did what he could, but that was it. So hopefully he does get picked up somewhere, or else they're just going to send him to Reno. And I'm wondering if he'll just like, I'm done. I'm going to go retire now. Because he is a little bit older. So, Gabe, any parting thoughts for the pod today?
Just want to, first of all, hopefully the D-backs can go and win a few games. But just want to give my condolences to all the fellow Mexicans out there who had to watch their team crumble and choke and say the lights were too bright against all the teams in the Copa America. So RIP this season.
I may be with you tomorrow at this time because U.S. has their game tomorrow. So we'll see. Brett, any parting thoughts?
As a non-soccer enjoyer, I am very much enjoying not having to give a shit. In the nicest way possible. But, I mean, like, it is unfortunate that we didn't sweep this, but at least we won the series. But, we are officially past the halfway point in the season. We can't fuck around anymore. Like, this team cannot, like, this isn't even like we don't even have really a full month. Like, we have, I would say, 2 weeks to really feel out or feel what this team's identity is. So get over 500. Cool. We're going to be buyers. If you keep staying under 500, we're going to see names like Jock Seawalk that you mentioned earlier, maybe Paul, probably be moved at the deadline.
I mean, Paul's on a expiring contract. So yeah, like that one makes complete sense to me. Then we can just get the process started early for J-Mart as our closer. So everyone, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate all the love there. Like I said, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to us here on YouTube. Check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. We may have another giveaway here coming soon. I may even buy a code if anyone wants NCAA 25 coming out here soon. You may be able to get that, so just stay tuned and check us, not just us, but everyone over at azsnakepit.com. There's a lot of great articles over there. We are really enjoying this partnership. See y'all next time.